Okay, getting back into working with this number pad that we're working on. And our objective to get through all these tutorials is to create a number pad that we can load up on eventually a cell phone such as the N900, that we can put in a number we want to call and a number we want to show up on the caller ID, and then using the website calleridfaker.com, without actually having to go to the website, place a call with that fake caller ID. And currently we have a script here. I called it numpad.py. We'll start that up, and we have this number pad that currently does not do anything other than just have the interface here. Now, before we add functionality, there's one thing I want to change. See, if we resize this, we have these wasted gray areas around our entry box here. And the reason we're getting that is due to we have it so that it expands the full width, and we don't want that. So we need to set the expansion to be set to false. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to use Vim as my text editor here, and I'm going to go to where we package that in to our box here. So right here we have our entry that we created, our text entry. We have a box, and we're packing the entry into that. And what all we need to do is go comma capital F false, and you'll know that if you forget to capitalize it or if you spell it wrong, at least in Vim, it's not going to be colored blue. So if it's just colored green, then you typed it wrong. So once again, color coding comes in very handy. And now if we run that command again, doing /, which I've already made it executable in a previous tutorial, now when we resize our box, great, we don't have wasted space, which is very important especially when you're working on something with a small screen like a cell phone. Okay, but still our buttons have no functionality. So let's start by giving them some functionality and by creating a function. So basically what we're going to want to do is we're going to create it so that when we type in a number on the number pad, that number appears in this text entry box here. So here we go. I'm going to go back into my text editor, and what we're going to do is up at the top here, just after we import GTK, we'll create a function. Let's call this function press, because you're pressing a button. So we're we're defining a function called press. With GTK, the first thing any of its widgets, so a button or anything, sends to a function would be itself. So we're just going to say widget. And that's very important in this case. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a variable, and that is going to be, we'll call it num for number, and we're going to grab the entry box, so that text box that we've created, and we're going to grab the text from it. So by default it's going to be empty, but we need to know if there is anything in there. Next we're going to create I'll call it pnum, and that will be the pressed number, and that would be the widget that's sending the information to this function. So it's any of our buttons, and we're going to say .get label. Now see how this is important, that we have this widget variable here and that our widget sends its own information, so that we don't have to create a new function for each button. We can create one function, and that function checks, well, what widget is sending this information, and we're going to get the label. So in this case, the label is going to be one of these options: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, pound, 0, or asterisk. And we know which one it is because that's what each button is labeled. I hope I'm explaining that well. And then we're going to reset the entry. We're going to say that the entry box, the text box that we have, we're going to set the text equal to whatever's inside these parentheses, and it's going to completely overwrite what's already in there. So to keep the numbers you've already pressed, we need to say num, which we created up here, which is going to be whatever is already in the entry box, and we're going to add to that pnum, the pressed number. So now we've created our function. We need to connect our buttons to it. So now instead of, once again, we've created this loop, making things more efficient. So instead of having to write out, connect this button to this function, connect this button to this function, and have to write that out for each button, we can just throw it in our loop and add it as the button is created. So we can say right here, button dot connect, and we're going to connect it when it is clicked to our new function called press. So even though this loop creates 12 buttons and each button is called button, they are all separate objects. They have their own identifier, which in the code in this particular case is not important to us, because the code knows which one it's talking about based on which one it's creating in the loop here. Once again, I hope I'm explaining that well. So now if we save this and we run our script again, now as we type in our numbers here, you can see I press the 5, a 5 appears there, 4 appears there, 6, 9, blah, 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 blah. Oops. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's great. Let's add a send button. So what we're going to do here is we are going to create another button, and instead of putting in our table, we will put it into just the box itself, the main box we created. So coming down here, we'll come after we create all the other buttons, and what we're going to do past where we put our table into our box, we're going to create a button, we'll call it send. And that send button is a GTK using our GTK module that we imported, and we're creating a button, once again with a capital B, it is case sensitive, and then what text we want to show up on the button. So this will be the button's label, and we'll just say send. Next, let's create a functionality for that. So let's create the function first, just to keep things in order. So we'll come back up here, and we will define a new function, so def, and we will call this one send press. So when the send button is pressed. So send press, and once again, it sends the widget information to it. And for now, we're just going to have it print out what number is going to be dialed, and we'll get more into that functionality and change this in a future tutorial. We'll say dialing. So we're just going to print this to the terminal, which in our final product, final script, you probably won't even see. But we'll say we're going to print dial and then whatever the entry box is labeled. So we'll say get text. Great. Okay. So we have that. So we've created our button, we created the function. Now we need to connect our button to the function. And that's very simple to do. We're just going to say send.connect, and we're going to connect it when it is clicked. And we're going to connect it to the function we just created, which is called send_press. Last thing we need to do is actually put this button somewhere, because we've created it, but we haven't actually added it to our window anywhere. We want to add it to our main box, which we have labeled as box. And we're going to say pack start, and our object that we're adding is our send object that we created right here. So now we can save this, we can run it, and you can see now we have a big old send button down here at the bottom. And I can type in a number like 555-698-2233. And when I click send, you can see in the terminal here it says dialing and a number. Even though we're technically not dialing anything yet, I wanted to show you how to connect everything up. And we will continue this tutorial in our next video. So I want to thank you for watching. I hope that you have a great day. Please visit filmsbychris.com. That's Chris with a K. There's a link in the description, as well as the first link will have this code that we've typed out so far. So if you want to go there and download it and play with it, you can do so. Also, I've been playing, once again, recording this tutorial on my new computer, and I've been messing with the volume levels in my previous tutorials that I've done so far with this computer. Some people were complaining about some static. I realized that I had the microphone boost on in the ALSA settings, so I turned that off because that was causing static, and then I put the capture volume all the way up. but I think it still might be a little low. Tell me what you think. Do you hear static? Is the volume levels okay? I just need to get all the levels right for my microphone. And other than that, once again, please visit the links in the description, and I hope that you have a great day.